Good morning, teachers and students. Today, I have planned to discuss about Cambridge Cambridge Biology, um, chapter 10, that is disease and immunity. So, in this section, I will discuss about the pathogens. We'll also discuss about transmissible disease. We'll talk about the way of transmission, direct contact, indirect contact. Then we will talk about how body uh, work as a defense, how what all physical barrier we have, what all chemical barrier we have, importance of controlling the spread of disease. Then we'll talk about active immunity, how your body fight against disease. We'll talk about work of antibodies in destroying the pathogens by the process of phagocytosis. Then we'll talk about specific antibodies, work on specific antigens. Then we'll explain active immunity, process of vaccination. Then we'll talk about the role of vaccination in controlling the spread of disease, explain the passive immunity, short-term defense mechanism, explain the importance of breastfeeding for the development of passive immunity, what is the role of memory cells, and describe cholera as a disease caused by a bacterium, and explain that cholera bacteria produces the toxins that cause secretion of chloride ion in the small intestine and cause uh, dehydration or diarrhea. So this is all about chapter 10, disease and immunity. So let's begin. So if I will compare with the previous syllabus, Cambridge has reduced some of the points from this particular section and it has added actually some of it from digestive system to this particular topic, like cholera bacteria infection in small intestine was generally discussed in the chapter 7, animal nutrition. But this time they have made it in this particular section. So let's begin with the topic. So first, what is pathogen? What is a barrier? So there are some inside your body. There are so many barriers which prevents the entry of all these bacteria. Right. So we'll talk about the barriers and what all pathogens there are in the environment. So what is pathogen? A disease-causing organism. In one line, if the question is describe pathogen, so you can say disease-causing organism or the organism which causes disease in the body goes into the body and spread the toxins or cause disease. We can write. So pathogens are actually passed on from one host to another. So maybe from human to human or animal to human or insect to human through transmission. So all this comes under transmissible disease when it is going from one person to another person. Like coronavirus recently. This was the highly transmissible disease. Yes, now we are cured with the vaccine, but it was a transmissible disease. Pathogen can be passed on from host to host in different ways. So first is direct way. Like uh, so when we say direct way, the meaning is transfer of something from one host to another host, like blood or semen, right? Example is HIV virus, right? Hepatitis. These all comes under direct contact. Indirect contact means the pathogen leaves the host and they carried in some way to the another uninfected individual, right? That comes from indirect contact. Like you are not direct contact uh, with the another one through a different way it is going. This is important. Method of transmission: droplets in air, like common cold, influenza, very common example. Food or water, cholera, typhoid, dysentery. Touching contaminated surface, athlete foot, salmonella. These are these are transmissible through surface to surface. Insect bite, malaria, or you can say dengue fever. So these are uh, transmissible disease. Let me share it here. Yeah. Now we'll talk about the defense mechanism in the body, how body is maintaining the defense. So as per the syllabus, we will talk about mechanical barrier, chemical and cells barrier. Cells barrier means now the cell is working to kill the pathogen. So first of all, body will try to stop the entry of the pathogens. Now the question is, what all barriers are there? So first is the mechanical barrier, like your body skin, your hairs in the nostrils. So these hairs make the pathogen difficult to get in, right? So that you should not inhale it, right? So skin first and second is hairs in the nose. Chemical barrier, like inside a body, there are some chemicals are released which cause defense against pathogen like mucus. Mucus is generally secreted by the body when by the body within the body, and the whole purpose of this mucus is to trap all the germs, and they remove all these things from the body by blowing the nose or by swallowing or by coughing, right? Stomach contain HCl, which is a high concentrated HCl, which kills the pathogen. So even suppose any pathogen has find a way to get inside your body. So don't worry. Inside your stomach there is a HCl, and they will destroy the chemical or the bacteria. Now, even after that, the any organism has somehow managed to get inside the body. Now what? So now we have a third defense mechanism, cell, body defense cells. Cells, we have some phagocytes are there. Your phagocytes keep on producing, keep on engulfing the bacteria and digesting it. And there are another lymphocytes which produce antibodies. And antibodies are unique to each and every pathogen. So like suppose if you are encountered with 1,000 disease so far, that means you have 1,000 different type of antibodies inside your body, so that it can keep on killing it. Even you are like suppose you are encountered with something, even you don't feel, but body is still fighting against it. Controlling the spread of disease, how we can stop the spread? Simplest way is to prevent disease is to stop pathogen from spreading. This means using simple measures such as good hygiene or effective sanitization, waste disposal. If you're doing all these things regularly, there's a maximum chance you are controlling. So when we say preventing the spread of disease, what is considered? So when we say preventing the disease, how it works, like take an example of hygienic food preparation. So how we do? So keep the food in cold so bacteria and fungus reproduce slowly. So if you're putting on the normal temperature, you will find that bacteria and fungus has grown. So if you put the food in the low temperature, they will reproduce slowly, or no, there is no production. Prepare food hygienically to avoid contamination from pathogen by washing hand well with soap and cleaning work surface with products such as bleach to kill the bacteria or pathogens. So we must use bleaching powder or bleaching chemical so that on the surface where you are making food, so that there is no pathogen. Cook food well. Again, food must be cooked on, on a high temperature so that to ensure that there is no bacteria or fungus. Once it is formed, we must cover the food with the um, lid. Cover the food. It should not be open. Then there's a chance insect or any um, um, germs will sat on it, and they will spread and they will start spreading. Use separate chopping board. Wash your hand after using the bathroom before handling food. Personal hygiene, how we can make personal hygiene? Wash with soap, remove substances with trap pathogen as well as pathogen themselves from the skin. Use tissue to catch, sneeze, and cough. Dispose to use tissues as soon as possible as pathogen can't still be alive. And again, you have to wash your hand after using the bathroom. Waste disposal. Waste food is a food source for flies that can act as a vector for many transmissible diseases. So we must dispose it in a sealed container. It should not be open. Rubbish bins should be covered with removed by the landfills for disposal and burning regularly. All rubbish should be stored before collecting away from the human habitation. So it must be go outside of the city, outskirt of city. Sanitization. Homes and public places must have plumbing and drain to safety removes feces and waste which can carry pathogen. Raw sewage should be treated to remove solid waste and kill pathogen before being released into the environment. So all these things must be considered when we are working on bacteria. So we want to be free from all these. So for that we have to work. Active immunity, making antibodies and developing memory cells for the future response. That's called active immunity. When we say active means something is active inside a body. So when we are encountered with any disease, your lymphocytes produces antibodies, and then antibodies also forms memory cells. These memory cells have a memory how they have handled the previous bacteria. So once again, the same bacteria is going to encounter. They have a history how to destroy it. So they provide long-lasting immunity, right? What is antigen and antibodies? All cells have protein and some substances which is present on outer side of the cell membrane, and these are considered to be antigen, which is specific to that type of cell. Meaning is every cell have a unique surface marker, and that surface marker act as an antigen. So lymphocyte has the ability to read these surface marker, that means antigen, on the surface cell and recognize them as a foreign. So your lymphocyte cells knows your body cells antigen, I mean surface marker. So they are not going to treat them as an antigen, right? But some other foreign cells comes inside your body, then they trigger and they make antibodies which are complementary shape so that they can destroy the pathogen. So like this. So this is lymphocyte 1. You can see on the surface these are the antibodies, and these antibodies goes and bind to the antigen. This is the bacteria, right? So this bacteria have a surface marker, and these antigens are going, antibodies are going and binding on the antigen. The antibodies attached to the antigen and causes agglutination. That's clumping. This process called clumping, also called agglutination. This means that pathogenic cells cannot move very easily. Now it is surrounded by the antibodies. At the same time, chemicals are released that signals to phagocytes. Now they will call the army. Oh, come, kill. Because phagocytes, what they do, they engulf the bacteria and then they destroy it. Like this. This is phagocytosis. This is the bacteria. They have engulfed it. Agglutination process makes the pathogen not to move. The initial response of a lymphocyte is encountering a pathogen from the first time and making specific antibodies for its antigen can take a few days or few hours, depending on the type of antigen you encounter. Lymphocytes that have made antibodies for a specific pathogen for the first time will make memory cells. Now, these memory cells have retained the instructions for making those specific antibodies for that type of pathogen. This means that in the case of reinfection in the future by the same pathogen, antibodies can meet very quickly in the large quantity so that pathogen can be destroyed in very lesser span of time. This is this makes the people immune to that particular disease. It does not work with all disease causing microorganisms as some of them mutate fairly or immediately or quickly to change the antigen on their surface, cell surface. So sometimes body doesn't able to recognize it. Right? Therefore, they invade the body for a second time. The memory cells made in the first infection will not recall them as now they have slightly different antigen on the surface, like cold virus, right? This is the common example. Now, if you are regularly getting encountered with some disease, better to take vaccination. So, what is vaccination? So, generally, we take a weakened strain of the bacteria or killed form of the bacteria and we put it inside the body to generate the immune response. And then immune response will form uh, memory cells and it will remain inside the body. Once in future, if live bacteria is going to affect you, the memory cells will start working, right? So vaccination gives protection against specific disease and boosts the immune defense mechanism from pathogen without the need to be exposed to dangerous disease that can lead to death. So the level of protection in the population depends on the proportion of people vaccinated. So vaccine allow a dead or altered form of the disease causing pathogen which contains specific antigen to be introduced in the body intentionally because we want to make your body immune with that disease. In this weakened state, the pathogen cannot cause illness because they are dead, but it will provoke the immune response. That means your lymphocytes will produce antibodies against the antigen, and the antibody targets antigen attach themselves to form a memory cells, and this memory cells will remain in the body for a quicker response in future, which will maintain the long-lasting immunity. So process is very simple. Harmless pathogen strain is injected. Antigen triggers an immune response. It can take days for a lymphocyte to make complementary antibodies to be activated. Lymphocytes able to produce complementary antibodies multiply and antibodies are released. Memory cells are produced. If antigen is encountered again, antibodies are produced much faster. That means long-term immunity, and these are the memory cells. Preventing the spread of disease. How to prevent? If a large enough percentage of the population is vaccinated, it provides protection for the entire population because there are very few places for the pathogen to breed because all are vaccinated. They are not going to grow there. This is called herd immunity. If the number of people vaccinated against a specific disease drop in a population, it leaves the rest of the population at risk of mass infection as they are more likely to come across people who are infected and contagious. This increases the number of infection as well as the number of people who would die from the specific infection disease. That's what happened in the COVID in the beginning. So like this, no one is vaccinated and the contagious disease spread throughout the population. Some of the peoples are vaccinated. So the blue are not vaccinated, the greens are healthy and vaccinated, and the red one is not vaccinated, they are sick. Now see, most of the populations get vaccinated, spread of the contagious disease is controlled. Very less people are unvaccinated, but population is healthy because bacteria or the germs cannot grow. Herd immunity prevents epidemic and pandemic from occurring in the population. This is the reason that many vaccinations are given to the children, as they are regularly seen by medical practitioners and can be vaccinated early to ensure that population remain at higher level. In certain instances, vaccination program can run with the aim of eradicating the dangerous disease from the country. Example is smallpox, which was officially eradicated in 1980 after a vaccination program run by the WHO in mid of 1950s. Passive immunity and the breastfeeding. Passive immunity, the fast-acting short-term defense mechanism against the disease, against pathogen by antibodies. Antibodies passes from mother to infant via mother's milk. This is important as it helps the very young to fight off infection until they are older and stronger, and their immune system is more responsive. The body does not make its own antibodies or memory cells as passive immunity, hence the name. So passive means they are not long lasting actually. Example, cholera. It's an infectious disease. Diarrhea is a loss of watery feces from the anus. If it is a severe and continuous for the long time, it can lead to death. So severe diarrhea can cause the loss of significant amount of water and iron from the body, causing tissues and organs to stop working. It can be effectively treated by oral rehydration therapy. This is the drink with a small amount of salt and sugar dissolved in it, and this will maintain the water level in the body. And there are many causes of diarrhea, which one of the infection is Vibrio cholera bacteria, which causes disease cholera. So these cholera bacteria is present in the small intestine, and we know that small intestine is a site for water absorption. So when the toxins are released, this chloride ion will come out. These bacteria. So high chloride ion is outside, that means low water potential, and we know that water goes from high to low potential. So high is in the cell, low is in the lumen. So water will come out and it will leads to diarrhea. Ingested via infected water or food, maybe you have now the question is how this bacteria come inside. Maybe you have drank an infected water, eaten food which was infected. So bacteria attached to the wall of the small intestine, they produce the toxins. These toxins stimulate the cells lining of intestine to release chloride ion. Chloride ion get accumulated in the lumen and lower the water potential there. Once the water potential is lower, then the cells lining of intestine, water starts coming out by osmosis. Large quantity of water are lost from the body in the watery feces, and the blood contains too little chloride ion in water. So how to replace it? Keep on taking salt water and sugar water. Thank you. If you have any question, you can put it in the comment section, and we'll see you in the chapter 11 tomorrow. Thank you.